get sacked for the first time of his career. Jadeveon Clowney, Vic Beasley need to do more up front. Otherwise, this is not a contender on defense.
Another example of good teams losing to not so good teams. Packers losing to the Vikings, Dan.
Well, when you got linebackers that play like this, that's going to happen. First of all, you can't just run nowhere. Second of all, if you're going to backdoor it as a linebacker, go make the play because one of you guys is getting blown off the football. Third of all, don't run into each other to start the second half and basically block each other to leave a huge seam for Dalvin Cook. And fourth of all, someone make a tackle. Someone be willing to make a tackle for Green Bay. You got 24 hours in many ways to save your season. Get a trade for a linebacker.
I like when we get to fourth of all. How about this? Tua Tagovailoa showed the fighting spirit in his comeback to the field after that devastating injury in college about a year ago. In his first NFL start, he completed that touchdown pass that you see there. The story, though, really about the defense and the special teams and this Dolphins win over the Rams. But, hey, considering where he was a year ago, remarkable moment for Tua Tagovailoa. Now, back to that first NFL touchdown, he found Devontae Parker with just 0.28 yards of separation. According to NFL Next Gen Stats, that's the tightest window a QB has found a receiver for a touchdown this season, even ahead of Tom Brady and Mike Evans' connection in Week 5. Remember that? Also, DK Metcalf's second quarter touchdown against the Niners yesterday. And then how about this as well? The Dolphins scored 4 different ways on Sunday. It was their first game with a passing, rushing, defensive, and special teams touchdown since 1993. Miami's defense pressured Jared Goff on 34% of his dropbacks, where he went 4 for 12 with 40 yards and an interception. And this Dolphins team has now won 4 of their last 5 games. Our Football Power Index believes they have a 39% chance to make the playoffs and a 15.3% chance, mind you, to win the AFC East. So 15.3% chance there, Marcus. But do you think the Dolphins will win the AFC East?
Based on what I've recently seen, yes, Laura. And listen, when you can win in spite of, we all get enamored with offense and we talk about things that teams can do from a point scoring standpoint. But if you look throughout this season, they gave up 31 to the Bills and 31, I believe, to the Seattle Seahawks. But outside of that, this defense has been playing elite. And as long as they can continue to bring Tua along and continue to evolve offensively, they'll be devastating for what we've seen the Buffalo Bills be and the New England Patriots, obviously. We're not going to even mention the other team. You should be able to beat them just by showing up on the damn field. Here's the thing, too. When you look at Flores and the way he started to build this team, yet last year I had to apologize for saying that this team was tanking because they started to show some of this last year as the season started going along. They were in some games that made you raise eyebrows and say, hold up, what is the Dolphins doing? And they won a couple down the stretch. And now you're starting to see this thing come together and the plan that they have in place. It's all about if Tua can continue to develop and be better than what we saw Fitzpatrick be at the earlier parts of this season.
Yeah, Mina, to that point, I mean, it was the story last year. We're all like, oh, the Dolphins are tanking. They're tanking for Tua. They end up getting Tua anyway, despite really not tanking. But defensively, that was a big part of that tanking narrative. So what has Brian Flores done that's impressed you so much on the defensive side of the ball?
So much, Laura. I'm glad we're talking about Brian Flores because watching that game yesterday, I had a flashback to the Rams-Patriots Super Bowl, which many people thought was a rather boring game, but football hipsters loved because of the defensive game plan that Bill Belichick and Brian Flores, who coached that defense, put together. The Dolphins went out and hired him, and this Sunday, again against the Rams, he saw another brilliant defensive game plan. Okay, disguised coverages, exotic blitzes. They played a ton of cover zero, which the Rams seemed totally unprepared for. You remember that Christian Wilkins interception? That's when he dropped back into coverage. Jared Goff had no idea that was going to happen. That is a well-coached defense that's making the most out of a roster that's built back to front, much like New England. And that's what's so key here, because Tua Tagovailoa, yes, he has to play better than he did this weekend, but he doesn't have to be amazing because this is the best defense in the division right now. He just has to play well.
A couple things I want to take off what Mina said. So first of all, I want everyone to think like the last time we saw Sean McVay get whooped. Coaching-wise.
Been a while.
It was that Super Bowl, right? Like, it was that Super Bowl when we were like, man, McVay's one of these brightest young minds that we have in the NFL, all the way to Super Bowl, and he just got stoned. And until really that Super Bowl, we hadn't seen it again until yesterday. And the cover zero that Mina talks about, we've got to, like, people need to understand the intricacies of why that's such a difficult defense to coach, because you are so vulnerable to huge plays, like back-breaking, game-changing plays if you aren't coached well. Thankfully, someone drew a tank against a cover zero blitz last year with the Dolphins. Someone that I know. But
Mina.
The fact that it's so well coached and they operated so well tells you everything you need to know about that football team. They got a bunch of young talent. They're really well coached on defense. And if Tua plays well, this is a playoff team.
Marcus, jump back in.
And y'all, listen, great points by Mina and Dan. And then the third thing is personnel. If you think about the moves that this team made to get Van Noy and get Byron Jones, and Xavier Howard was already playing as an elite corner before they signed him and locked him up. Christian Wilkins up front is starting to develop into that Vince Wilforkish type situation that they had in New England when Flores was a part of that staff. He is building this defense in the image of some of the best defenses we've ever seen from a personnel standpoint. That's why you can play cover zero, because you got corners that can lock up man-to-man.
Right.
Hey, you guys know what time it is?
Game time, huh?
No. It's time for Big Man Ballin'. That is coming up next. And week 8 was filled with great